Okay, welcome back. Now, today I'm really excited because in our last video, we went over all the exercises, kind of where they kind of fall. This one, we're coming back with a new t-shirt and we're coming back with how to put these together. So in other words, based on kind of where you fall in these categories, where should you get started? What is a good benchmark to start at? And which exercises are probably going to be most beneficial for you at this given point in time. So again, just to kind of reiterate, we're going to go through the categories again quickly. So again, remember, category 1 is if you're not necessarily in great health, if you have a very low control pause, especially under 10 seconds, we want to focus on the exercises 2, 3, and 6. We could also include the least invasive version, or the least intense version, I should say, of exercise 5. Category 2, again, you're going to fall into this category if you suffer from sleep apnea, if there's some sort of panic disorder, anxiety, or high blood pressure. Again, very similar to category 1 in terms of what you're going to be doing, the focus being on exercise 2 and exercise 5, all the different versions of exercise 2. Category 3, now this is going to be kids and teenagers. So if you are a parent watching this, we'll get into working with kids and some of the pitfalls that might show up with that, or some of the things to look out for. But again, exercise 1, 3, 5, and 6 are going to be the ones we focus on. And then category 4, we can do all of the exercises. Again, how we kind of structure them, we're going to go over examples of kind of how to do that. And we're going to go through each program so you can figure out where to start and what's a great place for you. So I'm going to go through category 1 first. So we'll just do these in order from 1 to 4. So category 1, if you fall into this category, some of the things that you should do is make sure you're breathing through your nose day and night, or at least doing your best to try to. Be cognizant of it. So throughout the day, whether it's just walking around or it's at work, or just simply through your daily activities, we want to really make sure that we're we're nasally breathing as much as possible throughout the day. Mouth taping, which is where I was going, could be something to consider. Now, this is something that I haven't talked too much about yet, but I think mouth taping is a really powerful tool for most people. It is something you can absolutely try, and I think it's worth trying for everyone. Whether it works for you is going to be different, kind of based on how comfortable you are with it. What I suggest with mouth taping is that you try it, you apply it first with maybe 20 or 30 minutes before you go to bed, while maybe you're reading a book or getting ready for bed, or going through some activities before bed, so you kind of get comfortable with the idea of it, because it is weird, especially in the beginning. But it is a really powerful tool. Why? Because if we're sleeping 7-8 hours a day, that's almost a third of our lifetime, essentially, where we could potentially be breathing through our mouths, and that's only going to perpetuate bad habits. Now, there's different types of tapes out there. There's ones that can cover the lips. There's ones that can go around the lips. For someone like me who has facial hair, one that goes around the lips isn't exactly as helpful because the adhesive just isn't going to stick very well. That being said, Myo tape is my favorite tape for one that goes around the lips. As for one that goes on the lips, it's going to be you're going to have to play around with different types of tapes. Some people like it being a little bit more adhesive, some like a thicker tape, some like a thinner tape. Honestly, this is something that I'm still playing around with too, but I will list some that I've tried in the past, or some that might be worth looking into. Now, as for the program itself, again, exercise 2 is going to be the bread and butter here. So 10-minute sessions per day. You can do all the different variations, 2A, 2B, 2C, 2D, 2E. And you could do maybe 10 minutes of each and then double up on one of them. Exercise 3, again, it's just being cognizant of breathing throughout the day while you're walking. If you're going for a walk, make sure you're walking with your mouth closed, with the tongue in the proper position. Exercise 6 can also be included. So these are the many short breath holds. You can use that to round out your sixth 10-minute session. Again, we're looking for around 60 total minutes per day. So you could do 10 minutes of each of the exercise 2 variations, and then exercise 6, 10 minutes. You can also do just the exercise 2, just the exercise 6, but as long as we're working towards around 60 minutes total per day. Now, if you have symptoms during sleep, really important to try to sleep in an upright position where at least you're propped up, maybe by some pillows. If you wake up in the middle of the night, try to be cognizant of any symptoms that might be going on. If you have no symptoms, go back to sleep. If you do have symptoms, though, you may want to consider doing exercise 6, which is the many small breath holds, just to kind of help, again, bring your breathing kind of back under control. And it will really help you feel better kind of during sleep. So that's kind of something that's really important. Also other things you might want to do. So again, I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but excessive talking, if you're giving presentations, try to limit that, because the reason is, even as I'm doing this presentation here, I know I'm taking short breaths in through my mouth, because even though talking is not necessarily an exertive force like exercise, I'm still using my breath to do it. So this will increase your breathing rate, and it will increase mouth breathing just by simply talking a lot. So again, obviously don't want to stop talking forever, but it is something to kind of be cognizant of, especially in the beginning. Really important to, especially if you fall into category 1, don't push yourself during physical exercise to the point where you lose control of your breathing. So right now, if you fall into category 1, the key is to get the breathing under control to where we can get the control pause at least up to 20 seconds. Then after that, we could start incorporating more intense physical exercise, so long as we're maintaining that breath throughout. Now, as we increase the intensity of the workout, it's going to affect our breathing patterns. So kind of really important to kind of keep that in mind. If you have to take it one step at a time so that you can maintain nasal breathing patterns, take it one step at a time going upstairs. Now, this is particularly for people who may be suffering from severe asthma or COPD. But again, it's important to maintain the patterns through exercise. And if you have to take breaks, even if it's at a less intensity than you're used to, do it, because maintaining the breathing is really going to be what's key. Now, exercise category 2, again, similar kind of ideas here for where we're going to get started. We want to make sure, again, that we're cognizant through nasally breathing throughout the day and night. Also might want to consider mouth taping. The exercises that you're going to focus on for the most part, again, are going to be exercises 2, 3, and 6. Again, we want to get to a place where we are doing about 60 minutes worth of work. So how we break that up, you can break it up with different versions of exercise 2. You can add an exercise 6. If you go for a walk during the day, make sure you're walking, again, with your mouth closed. Tongue posture is ideal, and breathing in and out through the nose. Now, if you suffer from sleep disorder breathing, you might want to save some of these exercises closer to bedtime, because it can help get you in that parasympathetic mode, get you into sleep, and have better quality sleep. Now, if you happen to suffer from sleep apnea, you may actually have a higher control pause, and this could be due to the loss of sensitivity to the chemoreceptors that sense carbon dioxide. So the goal is to concentrate on relaxation without air shortage, and then you move on to practicing with air shortage. So it's the idea of getting into a comfortable, relaxed state, and then we add the air shortage element to it. So it's literally going through the practice, doing the repetitions of the exercises we talked about. If there may be cardiovascular issues that come up, or like we were talking about, especially with high blood pressure. So again, this is something worth consulting with your doctor about, because as the control pause goes up, particularly if you're going from a lower number up until around 20, you may want to consider talking to those doctors, because improvements are coming. Exercise 3. Now, this is kids. So if you are a parent listening, you're going to be the ones usually guiding them through this. Now, you're going to have a lot of these exercises open to you. In fact, you can technically do all of them. The steps exercise 5, is going to be your bread and butter. It's the one that's the most active, and it's the one that will likely keep them engaged the longest. As far as the other exercises, it's more important of reinforcing the idea that we should be breathing quietly, we should be breathing slowly, and just kind of talking them through it. When it comes to exercise 5, again, I talked about this in the other video, 6 in the morning, 6 in the middle of the day, 6 in the evening. So you can get to 12 to 18 repetitions of the steps exercise per day. This exercise is the most powerful one of them all, but it's also the most intense. When you get to 80 to 100 steps, really the goal is to maintain this number. So, and you'll notice once you get to 80 to 100 steps, that control pause is going to be pretty high. So that's not going to be something that we're going to necessarily worry about, but it's a really good gauge. If you're in that 80 to 100 range, you might want to you could back off the amount of repetitions per day of the steps exercise, but the goal is maintenance. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about kids in another video coming up, but this is important both for kids and adults, and it's really to set goals. So whether it's a time frame, whether it's a number that you want to shoot for, or a number of minutes that you want to shoot for, you can really customize it based on to what the motivating factor is. The goal, for example, with the steps exercise is to increase the number of steps 5 to 10 steps per week. Now, if you're doing the exercises 12 to 18 times per day, you should be able to hit that number fairly consistently. I've done that personally. I went from about 50 steps to now 100, and now I'm maintaining that. And it was about in that 5 to 10 step per week, maybe a little bit longer, like 8 to 10 days. But point is, over about a month and a half, I was able to go from around 50 to 100 steps. So, and it's also important to note 60 steps. So once you get to 60-ish steps, you could have triggers that produce symptoms, but a lot of symptoms should start weaning a bit. The other thing with kids, and again, we're going to talk about this a little more, is they can cheat. So they can, if they're covering their mouth, they can pretend they're breathing through their mouth. They can take sneak in some air when they're turning, doing a steps exercise. They could hold their hands again over their face so you can't actually see what they're doing. So one thing that you can do, particularly with the steps exercise, is have one parent on one side, one parent on the other side, so you can see kind of both ways. But try to make it a game. Try to make it fun. Again, we'll go into some other stuff in terms of motivation with kids and teenagers later, but just some things to kind of be aware of. You could also do it, like I said, have one person, the child walk from one parent to another, so you can see the mouth. Are they breathing through the mouth kind of as they're going? Mouth taping is really important for kids too, especially in the beginning. You may want to consider mouth taping during the exercises just to kind of limit that. And obviously there's going to be a guardian kind of as you're doing this. So if something is coming up, you can obviously discontinue the mouth tape if you need to. The other thing is check the step size. So you'll have kids try to cheat a little bit and take really short steps. And obviously that's going to play with the number. So try to have, a fairly normal stride. Sometimes you might quicken the pace towards the end, but you don't want those steps super choppy. Then finally, we got category 4. Now, again, similar to kids, exercise 5 really is going to be the bread and butter of this. The steps exercise is the best one if there's no contraindications. That's going to give you the most bang for your buck. The other exercises are really great to do kind of like throughout the day or as part of your day. So the reduced breathing exercises, the exercise 2 versions, you can kind of add those in, but exercise 3, exercise 4, you can kind of do, say, if you're going for a walk throughout the day, maybe you're going for a little walk during a lunch break, or you're just trying to get outside. Those you can easily just add into kind of what you're doing throughout the day, and it'll become automatic the more you do it. Exercise 1 and 6, they're really more of your emergency exercises. So they're not really ones that I would focus on. Really, you want to focus on exercise 5, exercise 2, and then you can use exercise 3 and 4 basically as you go on walks and as you kind of live your day. So that is essentially how you're going to break this up. This is kind of like a suggested way to start. Again, the goal is to get around 60 minutes of work a day. You know, that's the goal, to kind of work towards that. Do the best you can with that. And, you know, kind of based on where you are with the control pause, hopefully this gives you a good guideline on where to start. So hope this is clear. I will see you guys in the next video, and have fun getting started.